Oh my god, that was like the best guitar solo I've ever played in my life. Please tell me you got that.
Yeah, no. I still haven't figured out what the best DAW for guitar players is yet.
I hate you.
So what is the best DAW for guitar player? Well, it's Ableton. And I know that shots fired and the comment section may end up a dumpster fire of people calling me a moron and fire heart emojis. I'm okay with that. I opened the door on this. Let's get into it. So first off, the low-hanging fruit. It's multi-platform, Windows or Mac, unlike Logic, which is obviously Mac only. And listen, Tim Apple has my money. I work on a MacBook Pro, I have an iPhone, I have the stupid watch, I use Apple earbuds, and I even have an Apple TV.
Hey Alexa, when does Ted Lasso come back on?
Historically, Apple has dropped the ball and taken a dump in years past. 2019 MacBook Pro, I'm looking at you. So while I don't currently plan to, it's nice to have the option to jump back over to a Windows machine if I need to. So let's move on to the UI. So originally Ableton was built to be an instrument, and by design, everything fits on one screen. There's this operational fluidity once you get Ableton under your belt, which is perfect for guitar players because, we're busy playing guitar. But with a glance, we can get all of the information that we need without having to stop down and dive into a bunch of submenus. So the looping thing. I know that most DAWs have their own version of Session View, which for a long time was Ableton's bread and butter. But speaking to Logic users and FL users, there's still a lot to be desired on that front. So as far as that live looping thing goes, Ableton is still sort of king of the hill. Listen, you don't have to become a looping wizard where you're doing one-person shows in a coffee shop and surrounded by tons of MIDI gear. But as a musician, it's always a good idea to have as many tools in your tool belt as possible, possibly opening up opportunity and income streams. As an aside, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm going on a head-to-head comparison with Logic, I did look into Studio One's Show View, I believe it's called. It looks really interesting, but it does seem to rely pretty heavily on pre-made backing tracks, whereas Ableton allows for in-the-moment creation. That said, I'm not a Studio One user, so if I'm wrong about that, someone please correct me in the comments. As a guitar player, I find Session View incredible for practicing. It's so much more engaging to use a hi-hat loop instead of a metronome, or to have other instruments in a chord loop instead of being limited to just my guitar when I'm using a looper pedal. It's also really fun to jam and write in, and there is this sort of compliment criticism of Session View where it's so much fun that you actually don't get anything done because it's not sort of laid out in a linear fashion. I'm not going to totally disagree with that, and I've got a video coming up on how to deal with that particular problem, so if you want to check that out, please do hit the subscribe button. And the push. So I just have a Push 1, which is almost 10 years old. It might be on the verge of being vintage gear, I'm not sure. It still works perfectly great. If you're not familiar with how these sort of MIDI pad controllers work, it may look a little intimidating to you, but as a guitar player, I'm about to show you that you're much further along in it than you think you are. All right, I don't want to dive too deeply into the Push, as anyone who's used one will know that's basically a video unto itself. I did just want to quickly show how at-home guitar players would be. So right now I have it set to chromatic mode in C major. The blue keys represent our root notes, C. And you'll notice that it's basically an octave apart. So our fifth is here, our fourth is here, and our third is here. So just like a guitar, that's a power chord, that's a power chord, that's a power chord, that's an octave. Thirds, fifths, sevenths. Morello, Bellamy, Gilmore, Frusciante. I love guitar players that use effects as a voice. I love pedals. I could spend an hour just futzing around with the knobs on a reverb pedal. I have spent an hour just futzing around with knobs on a reverb pedal. It's a small thing, but it's another one of those little right-at-home kind of vibes that makes Ableton so comfortable as a guitar player. It's really simple, but your effects chain is set up just like your pedal board would be. You can visually see the signal path in almost like a stomp box fashion. I don't know if it's an inherently guitar player thing or not, but it immediately made sense to me. So I don't really gig much anymore, and my days of aiming to get booked on a national tour are long behind me. That said, that might not be the case for you. And if you've got a keen eye and you go to a lot of concerts or stream a lot of concerts, you might have noticed that Ableton's been appearing on stages a lot more. So I generally see Ableton in keyboard land a lot more, or with drummers that are utilizing a hybrid E-kit. So if you're early into your career, or maybe you have aspirations to become a touring guitar player, knowing Ableton is definitely not going to hurt you. Now, obviously, no piece of software is perfect, and there are downsides. For me, I really dislike the stock amps in Ableton. There are people who have finagled some really incredible tones out of them. I am not one of them. Another downside is the lack of drummer. That's one thing that I really, really, truly do miss from Logic and GarageBand. I really do miss jamming with my mustachioed man on the skins, Logan. That dude is a monster. But there are plenty of other ways you can do drums in Ableton. You can check out a video I did on it up here. And if you're already using Ableton to record guitar, let me know what you love about it. And last, if you're brand new to Ableton and home recording, please check out this video, which is a very nuts and bolts day one look at Ableton and guitar. And on that note, we're out.